Welcome to the instructions video for my budget template. Once you open the PDF file, you can access the template and the instructions video by clicking on the corresponding button. Before trying to access the template, make sure you're logged in your Google account and that you have space on your Google Drive. Otherwise, you will get errors if you try saving the file before doing this. When the file opens, in the upper right corner, you have to click on the button Use Template. This should open an editable file. In case you are still in the read-only version, meaning you can't make any edits to the file, make a copy of the file. To do this, click on File, Make a Copy, and rename the file however you'd like. Finally, click Make a Copy. In this first sheet, you will be able to access the instructions video you are watching now. This is also the place to choose the currency for the entire template by clicking on the little arrow. In case you do not see your currency in the list, click on the small pencil at the bottom, and on the right-hand side, scroll down and click Add Another Item. Add the symbol for your currency and click Done. Afterwards, you will be able to find your currency at the bottom of the drop-down list. You also have the option to highlight the cells where you can enter data. This is super helpful if you have just started using the template to avoid deleting any important formulas embedded in the spreadsheet. If you choose this option, all of the editable cells will be highlighted in a light purple color. Now it's time to add all of the categories you'd like to budget for. These categories will automatically appear in the budget template. If at some point you need to add additional categories, refer back to the sheet to do so. Don't delete or add additional categories on the monthly tabs. For income, you can add 12 categories, for bills and expenses, 30 categories, for savings and debt, 20 categories, and for investments, 11 categories. Let's start by heading to the debt tracker first. In the debt information table, add the year and choose the month from which you want to start tracking your debt payoff. As for the method, you have two options. The snowball method will prioritize paying off the smallest debt first. The avalanche method, on the other hand, will prioritize the highest interest rate debt. You can play around with both and see which method works for you the best. In the overview table, all your debts have already been sourced from the Start Here sheet, so all that is left to do is add your current debt balance, minimum payment amount, and annual interest rate. Based on all this information, you can now determine whether you can contribute anything extra to pay off your debt faster, or just leave this cell blank. The current month will always be highlighted so you are aware what payments you have to make that month. At the top, you can see your total payoff progress for each debt. The titles will change depending on how far along the payoff progress you are. Hopefully, they will motivate you to keep going. Each debt also has a separate analysis table. Here you can find your current balance based on the current month you are in, the minimum monthly payment sourced from the overview table, how much of the principal you have paid off, and how much you have paid in interest, and of course the total paid amount. Then how much you have left to pay and your monthly interest rate. At the bottom of each table, you'll be able to find out when you can expect to pay off that debt and a visual progress bar. The summary table shows exactly the same things, just for all the debts combined. And you can find out your debt-free date if you follow through with the debt payoff plan. Keep in mind that this debt tracker will update based on your actual debt payments. So whenever you will log a transaction towards your debt payoff on the monthly tabs, it will be reflected here. And yes, even if the amount is bigger or smaller than planned, the debt tracker will update automatically and recalculate all the data, so you don't have to change anything here manually. Now let's head to the savings tab. Here for each saving, you can opt to add a goal date by double-clicking on the cell if you're on your computer, or writing the date manually if you're using the template on your phone or tablet. Write down your goal amount, and if you have already saved something towards that category, add the amount in the Start cell. If you have selected a specific goal, you can find out how much you need to contribute towards that category monthly to be able to reach your goal. Also, for each saving category, you can see how much you have already saved, how much is left to save, and any interest earned. If you don't have a specific goal date or goal in mind, just leave those cells blank. And also, in case you haven't started saving for a particular category, just leave the start cell blank. At the top, you can see a summary for all the categories and a progress bar for all your savings combined. If you earn any interest on your savings, you can simply write down the interest amount in the table and that amount will automatically be added towards the particular saving. As for your investments, here everything follows the same exact logic as in the savings tracker. Now let's head to the budget template sheet. In the overview table, write down the year, choose on which day the month begins and on which day the week starts. Choosing the day of the beginning of the month is especially beneficial for those receiving their paycheck before or after the first day of the month. This means that you can start your budgeting month when you receive your first paycheck. In the accounts table, write down all of the accounts you use on a daily basis for your transactions. Keep in mind that when writing the starting balance for a credit card, write it with a minus sign. I know it seems counterintuitive as the balance on your credit card appears without a minus sign, but this is necessary so the budget template can analyze your transactions properly. If you'd like your existing balance to roll over for a particular account, tick the box. Rollover means that your starting balance for the account will be added to your total budget and spending allowance. If you choose not to roll over any of your accounts, your budget and spending allowance will 100% depend on your expected and actual income respectively. In the income table, you can opt to add your due days for your income categories. These will automatically be reflected in the mini calendar in a gray color. Afterwards, add your expected income for the month, which will automatically increase how much you have left to budget. In the bills table, you can also opt to add your due days, which will be reflected in the calendar in a pastel orange color so you don't accidentally miss them. Next, choose which type each category fits into, either something you need, something you want, or you're saving for your future. Lastly, add your budget for each category. The main difference between bills and expenses is that for bills you pay the exact same amount periodically, but expenses are variable. Now repeat the same steps for expenses, savings, investments, and debt. And remember that for debt you can also opt to add your due days, which will be reflected in the calendar. In the summary table, you can easily see how much you have budgeted for each type, how much you have spent realistically, and how much you have left to budget based on the ratio. The ratio is automatically set to 50-30-20, but you can switch it up to fit your lifestyle. Let's assume we want 70% of our income to be allocated to needs, 20% to wants, and 10% to savings. The left to budget column is recalculated, and now we can see there is a cell that is highlighted in a light yellow color. This means that by using this ratio, we have allocated too much towards wants and savings. Now that you know how this table works, I will go back to the 50-30-20 ratio. As we are now done with the budgeting part, let's switch the charts from budget view to actual spending view. As a reminder, your spending allowance depends on your actual income and the accounts you have chosen to roll over. All of your actual transactions have to be added in the transactions table. You can choose the transaction date by double-clicking on the cell, or by writing the date manually if you are using the template on your phone or tablet. Next, add the amount, choose the category from the drop-down list, the name from the drop-down list, and the account used for the payment. You can also add notes next to your transactions. Something important to remember is to always write all of the numbers with a period separator instead of a comma. For example, in my case, I type on my keyboard 110.27 instead of 110.27. If you use a comma, the analysis formulas will not understand it as a number, but instead as a text, and you will get errors. Once you have paid for your bills and debt, you can tick the boxes and they will strike through. If you want to make any transfers between your personal accounts, use the transfers table. In my fictional case, we used credit cards and I'd like to pay them off in full this month. First, I check their outstanding balance in the accounts table. Afterwards, I head to the transfers table where I choose which account I will use to pay them off. Write down the amount and select which credit card is going to receive it. That's it. In the accounts table, we can now see that the balance for the checking account has decreased, whilst our credit cards are paid off in full. When you are ready to start your budget for the next month, you'll notice that all of your data except for the actual transactions have been sourced from the previous month. So you don't need to start everything from scratch and you can easily make edits as needed. If we take a look at the Year in Review tab, we can see that all the actual data for January has already been added. The data here will automatically update based on what you input on each monthly tab. The charts at the top will show the total amounts per month for all the main categories. Just so you know, your annual net worth here is calculated by adding income, savings, and investments, but subtracting expenses, bills, and debt payments. If we scroll down a bit, we'll see a more in-depth analysis for each category. My main goal when creating this template was so it's as easy to use as possible. So I hope you love it as much as I do and you reach all of your financial goals you have set for yourself.